King Chau Quivi. Are there any Californians here today? How about from Virginia? Texas? From all over the country, because 30 different states are represented here, Vietnamese Americans. And one of the reasons I think it is so important that you're here in Washington to talk to your representatives, and you'll have an opportunity later to talk to the members of the House and the members of the Senate. But I think it's important because some of the best ideas have come out of the community. And I wanted to give you a quick example. And that goes to a concept years ago in Orange County, California, of trying to rename an area of town in my district, in the state Senate, Little Saigon. And it was the idea of a Vietnamese American on my staff at the time that we could, on the state map, get a designation, Little Saigon, and that we could get street signs made from the Department of Transportation and put them up. Little Saigon. How many of you have been to Little Saigon, California? All right? It's not so little anymore, you know? It's now parts of 4 cities in the region: Westminster, Garden Grove, Santa Ana, Fountain Valley. But that happened as a result of the engagement of the community. But now I want to share with you another idea that came from the community. And that was the idea of Radio Free Asia, the types of broadcasting we would do into Vietnam, and the idea that in Tinian Island we would build the largest broadcasting transmitter in the world so that we could more effectively broadcast into the country. That's an idea from the community. Congressman Joseph Gao, when he was here in Congress, worked very diligently to try to put Vietnam back on the CPC list. I have legislation to do that. He testified in favor of that bill. We got that through the House. This year, I think, because of a new chairman on the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, we have an excellent chance of getting it into law. Let me just share with you why we need to do it. We need to apply pressure on the government inside Vietnam because of its violations of human rights, because of its violations of religious freedom. And what concerns me most is the backsliding in Vietnam. In the first few months of this year, we have had show trials of 40 different Vietnamese who have been imprisoned. Now, that is more than all of last year. And as we try to explain to the State Department, it is only when we bring pressure to bear that we get results. Remember years ago in Nicaragua, we pushed for free elections in that country. And we said, if we're going to engage, one of the requirements has to be elections. And sure enough, things changed in the country as a result of those elections. We need to be pressing on more than just the radio broadcast that we do now, on more than just the trips that we take to Vietnam. I had an opportunity when I was in Vietnam to visit various political prisoners. And one who I visited was the Venerable Thich Quang Do. And for those of us that are concerned about what has happened to the Unified Buddhist Church of Vietnam, to the Hoa Hao Church, Buddhist Church of Vietnam, to Cao Dai, to the Protestants, to the Catholics, to across the board, every element in that society, he spoke to the ways in which, he told me, the ways in which the regime attempts to change the meanings of the historical religion, tries to change the culture, and why it was so important for him to continue to stand up, and why we could not acknowledge the Communist Party's manifesto as a replacement for the culture. One of the things that you're doing by remaining engaged in this struggle is to make certain that the next generation of young Vietnamese do not forget their culture, do not forget their principles, don't lose sight of the freedom And one of the things he shared with me in that conversation is just as freedom eventually came to East Germany, to Poland, to the Czech Republic, freedom will eventually come to Vietnam. But to get to that goal, it is this nation which has the Statue of Liberty with that torch as a beacon. And the United States has to stand true to our principles. All people are created equal, right? All people in the world have these rights, God-given rights of freedom. And as chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and I won't go into the graphic details of some of the cases that we've gotten involved in. We've been able to get people out of prisons. We're very well aware of, what has happened to those who speak out, the long prison terms, the beatings, those who try to practice their religion. But my commitment to you today is, as you stay engaged on behalf of freedom in Vietnam, we will stay engaged. As chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I will push this legislation through again this year to put pressure on the regime to get Vietnam back on the CPC list. And we will push the Vietnam Human Rights Act, and we will continue to broadcast into the country. When we travel to Vietnam, we'll continue to insist that we meet with political prisoners in Vietnam. We'll call for their release, we'll demand their release. But let's do one thing more. You're in Washington, and just as I shared with you the idea that came from the Vietnamese community about getting the signage, getting the signs on the freeway, getting the designation from the state of California for Little Saigon, think about what can help your local community. And also, when you're meeting with us, share with us your ideas. There are many entrepreneurs, many small business people here. All of you have various concerns. Bring those up with your members of Congress. That's part of the system. Let's have a dialogue about issues of importance to the community. And let me just close by thanking all of you. And I know, for those of you who have gotten to know Congressman Joseph Gao, as I have over the years, we have a deep respect for how he continues to stay engaged on behalf of human rights. I close by thanking him for that engagement, but I also close by thanking each and every one of you for making the trip all the way out here to call for freedom and also to have your voices heard in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.